This is a really easy, simple, no-knead bread recipe. Into a bowl, you want to add 975 grams of plain white bread flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 3/4 of a teaspoon of instant yeast, and then go in there with a whisk or a spoon and just give everything a little mix together just to distribute your yeast and your salt evenly, and then add into there 750 grams or millilitres of room temperature or cold water. So don't use warm water. And then give everything a good stir together. Nothing fancy, no folding, no kneading, but just literally so the flour and water combine and you no longer have too many floury bits. And then cover that bowl over with a tea towel, or I used a napkin, or you could use cling film, and then just ignore it overnight or for about 10 to 14 hours. And then the next morning, uncover your dough, sprinkle your work surface with plenty of flour. If you haven't got a cold, kind of granity, quartzy worktop, I would suggest using a wooden board for this. And then just scrape all around the edges of your bowl and then tip your dough out onto that floured work surface. So again, nothing fancy, but you do want to kind of try and scrape it out all in one go, because you don't want to knock out the air that's in that lovely poofy wobbly dough. And then you can either use, I've got this kind of cutter thing, but you could just use a regular knife. But try and make as few cuts as possible through the dough, but you want to divide that dough into 4 strips basically. And then carefully lift up those strips of dough and just pop them onto, I use a wire rack that comes with the oven, lined with a piece of baking parchment. Stretch that dough across your rack that's lined. And you can see I've not made the best job of it here. And I wasn't going to post this video because I thought it's not the best. But I also, I kind of backtracked and thought, no, I will post this video because I want to illustrate that actually you don't need to be fancy with it. Then you want to bake your bread for about 25 minutes at 240 degrees Celsius in a preheated oven. A little tip for you, I always have the oven tray beneath the rack, and when I open the oven to put the bread in, I just pour about a mug of cold water into that tray, and that just creates some steam, which helps you get that lovely crusty exterior. And you can see inside, the crumb is just delicious. Great, loaded up with loads of butter, a bit of English mustard and some ham. Delicious. If you don't want as much bread, feel free to halve the recipe, or I usually make the full 4 loaves, but then freeze half, and they reheat perfectly nicely.